Peyton, get in the frame, please. Thank
Sorry, I
you.
was walking in and filming on Snapchat.
Right. This is Isabella. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Leslie.
I'm Peyton.
And I'm Isabella.
Gosh.
Okay, so today we're gonna answer videos to the curious case of Phineas Gage. And so for the first question, why is Phineas Gage's story so important to neurosciences today?
Because he had technically a piece of his brain taken out, I guess, and he was able to function properly, but just his mood and attitude changed.
Yeah. And it's so important to neurosciences because his surgery must have been the video that we watched didn't seem like the surgery was complex, but it had to have been taken forever, and they had to be really careful because of obviously the hole went through his brain, so they have to be careful with whatever they're doing, so that they don't destroy any other part of his brain. But he was lucky because it only went through, I think, the frontal lobe. Well, I'm just assuming because it just went that.
It's a good observation. Right?
And, okay, which part of the brain was immediately compromised by the explosion? What does damage to this part of the brain result in?
It was his frontal lobe. It was driven through his entire skull, destroying the frontal lobe.
Nice. So if the frontal lobe governs muscle movement, motor skills, and cognitive functions, and it's also responsible for planning for the future, concentration, and preventing socially unacceptable behaviors. So obviously, if this part of the brain is destroyed, then the rest of it, then he won't be able to make socially acceptable behaviors, and he won't be able to think properly, think before he acts, basically.
Yeah.
And he did change into a new man.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to describe the difference?
Yeah, he was way more rude than he was before, and I think that his language and his tone of talking really changed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, before he had professional mannerisms, when the dudes were messing around. I'm just trying to use big words to take it back for a second.
And now he's
And now he's not mannerism.
and he's doesn't sound like it anymore.
Okay,
So,
what does the frontal cortex regulate? Could this account for his personality change? If yes, how? And if no, what part of the brain would? Okay, well, we just answered this question. So the frontal cortex or the frontal lobe, I think they're the same thing. They basically regulate planning and thinking before you act. I'm pretty sure.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously this is part of the central nervous system because it's the brain. And when you destroy something in the central nervous system, everything changes. And he's actually kind of lucky that it only changed that part and not his sight, the back of his head, or his hearing, or any other senses. If this couldn't account for the personality change, what part of the brain would? You guys want to see this?
So what other part of the brain, or just what could have happened differently?
If any other part of the brain were destroyed, what could?
if it were hit in the back, it could go blind.
Yeah, the occipital lobe that was damaged. You could have gone blind. The
Parietal lobe, process.
And you won't be able to,
touch,
feel
pain,
things.
and pressure. You'll lose your touch,
your feeling sense,
pain, and pressure.
your temporal lobe. So that's certain information. So you won't be able to speak properly because you won't be able to think clearly.
So your speed could get all jumbled.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might also be destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's got to go. Just going through one lobe is pretty impressive. Okay. Next question. What other parts of the brain were affected by the explosion? Oh my gosh.
I don't think
Which areas were hit by the pike and what are they responsible for?
his
just said
cheek
that right.
region, his frontal lobe region, His nasal cavity, I assume.
Yeah, and just for your guys' information, or maybe it's just misprinted, the pike was the hole that went through his cheek and through his head.
Ooh, like
And by the explosion, like it literally just went right through his brain. So that just shows you how drastic the explosion was. It punctured his skull. Okay, it says what other parts of the brain were affected. So we think that the temporal lobe was also affected. Was the temporal lobe?
I think we kind of implied that it was because he's able to speak, just not very, like, well.
Flow.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow.
It was
well.
like hit a little bit.
It almost looks
Yeah.
like he has to like think for a second before he has to say
It
something.
just got delayed a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
And his personality changes. So whatever lobe functions personality and what makes it specific to you, that changed. In your opinion, what was the most shocking part of this story and why? So
The
how
fact
many?
that he survived.
We're at 6
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
Does everyone want to give their little?
Yeah, let's start down the
spiel?
road here.
Okay, so
Spiel.
I don't know.
one of the most shocking things from the story or from the film was that he survived like that accident because it went like through his brain, and it was just really surprising.
Yeah.
Take it away, Pete.
Yeah.
You want to go in depth about your thought process and how it correlated with Leslie's thought process?
I mean, she's pretty detailed about it.
Yeah.
It just went straight through, and he survived that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something else that was like surprising in the video was like not only that he survived it, but he's able to like function like properly for the most part. Like obviously like his personality changed a lot, but I think it's still kind of crazy that he was like able to function properly, technically.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said.
You concur?
And I concur, but I'd also like to add that the most shocking part for me was maybe it was just how the video depicted this, but it was everyone seemed to act like nothing bad happened to him. Like everyone just treated him like normal, if not worse. Like they were getting into fights with him, and they weren't fragile with him, like how I assume people would be fragile with someone today who got a thing stuck in their brain or brain surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You concur?
I don't even know what concur means.
Do you agree?
Do I agree? Okay, concur. I've never heard anyone say that word besides you.
Well, my brain's really big, so
Yeah, so
my
in
frontal
summary,
lobe's kind of massive.
so yeah, in summary, we all just agree that the most shocking part was that he survived. And because also we learned that the brain doesn't like to be touched, and the fact that the metal rod or
Was
the
able to, like,
pike went
pierce right through it.
pierced through it and he still survived, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane, bro.
It is insane.
Wait, how much
Insane.
video to
So shocking.
Hey, you have to make it at least 10 minutes.
It was so shocking.
It was
was
like
so
it was like
crazy.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
Mind
Literally,
blowing.
yeah, exactly.
It
It
actually
went
kinda
tick
was
tick boom.
almost
Tick-tick.
mind blowing. Okay. If you could talk to Phineas Gage today, what is one question you would ask him and why? That's it.
How he felt during this entire process.
But then we
of
have to
being
remember
stabbed in the
that
brain.
Yeah.
he's weird now, so we have to like speak his language.
Maybe ask him like what he remembers to see if he still has his memory.
Oh yeah, see if he has amnesia from
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
the trauma that he prevailed through so
Yeah.
elegantly and passionately and amazingly and ominously.
Okay.
Great.
I'd ask him if he like noticed if he changed maybe,
Yeah.
just because he changed drastically.
And I'd also just ask him more questions about himself and his personality, or maybe just not his personality, but his experiences and like things in his life that are facts, like who his parents are, who his siblings are, if he has like a wife or something, to ask him to see if he still remembers all of that, like still just to go back to the remembering.
Do you think his life expectancy is like lowered because of it?
I think so.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd also ask him like if it's preventing him from doing something. Like from yeah.
It almost seemed
And
like
what?
like when he was like shooting the gun, it almost seemed like he was acting kind of normal when somebody was like being nice to him.
Yeah, I know.
Or like
Oh yeah.
it just seemed like he was having like a normal like obviously he was probably drunk or something, but
Yeah, that's why he was happy.
oh yeah, probably.
Alright, so that's it.
Thank you
Thank
for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.